best crypto asset? Bitcoin is the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best? There is no second best.
This is Discover Crypto. Every day on the channel, we teach you how to make money with digital assets. And I'm joined here with TJ. We got a very special show today, so smash that like button, everybody. We got to talk about Cardano and the three charts that are screaming. Cardano's getting ready for a blast off. Also, we got to talk about Aster, what happened with that. Bitcoin, we're seeing some very interesting details. And Ben Cowan calling for a 70% drawdown. And we're going to go over that as well. TJ, it is a Friday episode. Everybody smash that like. How are you doing today, TJ?
I'm doing good. I'm always happy to be here, happy to be in crypto. Interested to hear what that 70% drawdown is you're talking about and when he might think that's coming. Love a lot of his analysis. Obviously, September hasn't played out exactly as predicted, but interested to see, 70% drawdown. I mean, that's on par with seasons past. So I don't think we're going to see as much of a drawdown, but I know he's got a lot of really good data to back up what he's saying. So I'm interested to see what that is.
All right. Well, speaking of data, let's look at the data on the Bitcoin price charts. Let me change my window size. Oh, there we go. Looks a lot better. Bitcoin in a little bit of a drawdown. You can see last night we peaked out, actually yesterday afternoon, early afternoon, and then Bitcoin just started to go on a little bit of a tumble, but finding a potential bottom around 9 a.m. It did lose about almost $2,000. Is this going to be time for Bitcoin to turn around? Looking at the RSI on these short time frames, mind you, we are seeing a little bit of strength coming back, suggesting signs that we are going to see a reversal. However, when we go into the larger time frames, we can see it on the 10-minute, but as you get into the 30-minute, it is appearing oversold. But you can see just right here, last time the RSI was oversold, you go straight up, it would still put in another significant low point, and you can see the same thing right here. So we want to see some bullish divergences on the RSI. We want to see the relative strength index get some strength on these larger time frames, suggesting Bitcoin could then turn around. But as of now, it is looking, I would say, semi-bullish on the 1 hour chart, TJ. We are consistently putting in higher lows, trying to keep this uptrend alive. Now, how are you feeling heading into the weekend?
I know the Discord traders are in longs right now. I know Crypto Face is in a long, so a lot of those
always a good sign there.
Yeah, a lot of those people, and then John Dalton, who's one of our expert traders in Discord, has been calling it pretty well this last few weeks. So I know a lot of them are live in there. I was looking at it earlier with Drew this morning before we went live just a few minutes ago. So if you guys aren't in that Discord, make sure to check the link in the description. It's absolutely free to join, and there's tons and tons of good information in there. A lot of professional traders with big money. So if you're looking to, whether you trade all the time or if you want to learn how to trade, hop in there. There's plenty of people in there willing to help you out. And yeah, a lot of people are in longs right now. I know a lot of them crushed it on Morpho yesterday. Drew was telling me, I mean, he's following a system. He made his $1,000, but had he left it open, it would have been a $20,000 trade. And many people in the Discord did. So they're all extremely excited and loving all that action. So yeah, going into the weekend, generally speaking, volume goes down. There's volatility. Often we see it fade a little bit over the weekend and then pick up Sunday night. I think we could see some bullish action continue. It seems like the market is responding to the rate cuts. I did see a tweet this morning from Ansem that said 90K before 120K. And then
I saw your repost there.
Yeah,
you said 120 before 90. So let us know, what do you think is going to hit first? Type in 120, type in 90. I want to see that. We got the chat pulled up right here. We'll throw up some of the responses. Speaking of trades, I am in an Aave long. I didn't get a chance to show it yesterday. I didn't want to re-sign into LBank, but we back signed in. Still have it open. So since I'm seeing some big smart money start to open some longs, I'm gonna keep this thing open. If you're wondering about World Liberty Fi, finally got into break even. We jumped in. I closed a little of the position here. We added to the position here, and now we are just sitting here about as flat as you could be on the 15-minute. Looks like maybe creeping into the green here. Yeah, finally turning this trade positive after, this was a while ago, TJ. Jumped in somewhere around oh, September 3rd, 2 weeks we've been riding this. But again, low leverage. I was screaming from the rooftops. I didn't even want to use 2x. You guys talked me into 2x. I was going to do 1x.
Yeah.
But because we did safe leverage, we're still good.
Well, 2 weeks is like almost 6 months in crypto. It feels like
I didn't even tell you.
Move so fast.
A lot of people probably thinking about the funding fees on LBank. At least there was several periods I was paid handsomely to have that trade open. It was
nice.
So when everybody was going short, you actually get paid to go long, and if everybody's going long, you'll get paid to go short. So looking at the, I think it's every 8 hours or whatever, you'll see a little fee. $100 might be 10 cents, something like that, 17 cents. It was interesting seeing $20 deposited, like funding fee. I'm being paid $20. So
yeah, this doesn't normally happen. Yeah.
Normally happens. So it was a position for periods I was actually paid to keep open. So again, did not mind having that trade open for a while with that low leverage. And again, with the low leverage, you're going to have the lower fees. All right, let's hit refresh. Let's check the rest of the crypto market. We see Bitcoin is down 1.3 and ETH is down 1.6. And if we scroll down, we don't see anything in the majors green except for Avalanche. We've been posting and bull posting about Avalanche, so we love seeing this one in the green. But if you look at the other coins in the top 10, BNB also holding on to some strength here. It has only declined 0.4%. Looking for the big gainers here, we have IMX still crushing it. ETH gaming focus L2. They do have some interesting tech that they have some, let's just say, some protection on. People have to pay them a fee to use some of their gaming tech. So maybe this is weird signs of a gaming resurgence in the horizon. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but we might see gaming tokens ripping. I think this IMX is the canary in the coal mine, TJ.
Yeah, I agree. And the Avalanche not far below is another one that has
gaming narrative. True.
A gaming narrative there. And the near, seeing that one move again is interesting. That was another call I put in Discord earlier this week that I was looking at it coming up on the longer time frame. You go click that and go to like 3 months and you can kind of see like, oh yeah, this looked like it was
on near.
Yeah, on near. A couple days ago, I was looking at the 3 month, or you go to the 1 year.
Jumping in
yeah, you could see it, and then on 1 year, it's very clear. Like, oh yeah, it's coming out of support, and it could very quickly teleport up to some, maybe not all time highs, but at least the recent highs there, and that might be a position I'm looking to add to here recently as AI and risk on starts to heat up. I think near could be another one that leads that narrative. We've talked about that a lot on the channel in the past. That's a decent one to kind of have exposure to for the narrative. But yeah,
it was one of the 3 AI coins that we said WorldCoin profits are going to trickle into. And I think all 3 have been doing very, very well.
Yeah. I mean, everybody in the community is happy. A lot of our, I've been a lot this week, all of our coins are up, Morpho, Avalanche, Chainlink, Cardano. And I know you've got some Cardano news to look at a little bit later, but yeah, if you guys are wondering, it blew my mind yesterday. Someone's like, does that mean alt season is going to be 2026? And it's like, no, alt season's happening right now. Did you not log in today and see the charts and see what's going on? Like, this is alt season. Hopefully we ride it well for the next couple months. My plan later this year is I've been scaling into, and my whole portfolio is in the Discord so people can kind of see these moves, but I have been scaling into a lot more altcoins like Cardano, like Chainlink, like Avalanche, like Morpho, Arrow, a lot of the major ones, even some Athena and some of those. My plan is to continue to ride those for the next few months and then roll back into Bitcoin later this year and kind of be in a wait and see position. I've still got a fair amount of cash on the sidelines at that point. And then depending on what happens January, I still think we could see the cycle continue well into January 2020 or really early part of 2026. So I'm going to pull into strength with Bitcoin. If we do see somewhat of a correction after that point, like say we go to 150 by the end of the year and go back to 100K in Bitcoin, that doesn't scare me too much if I'm all in Bitcoin. Alts will be crushed when that happens. And then I might re-enter alts early into next year and hope to ride some more risk on assets as Jerome Powell steps down as Fed chair. We continue to see rate cuts, and hopefully we get into a full quantitative easing type stance from both the Fed and the Treasury. And that is when we all get rich and make that retirement money.
Is it better to sell crypto before the end of the year or after? Well, a lot of people are going to say Q4 is definitely going to be the top. A lot of people are going to say Q1 2026 is definitely going to be the top. I would say no one definitely knows, and I'll say that definitively. I am looking
Absolutely.
at that M2. That M2 is starting to creep a little bit higher. Seeing that Bitcoin break correlation is a little bit alarming as far as, are we entering alt season? Is it over for Bitcoin? But we will let you know when we start stabling up and then, rolling those altcoins into Bitcoin. So just stay tuned, turn on those notifications, and make sure you follow the channel.
Yeah.
DZ's video yesterday about M2 money supply clutch. We have new data from Colin Talks Crypto. He's the guy that's really been shouting out about the M2 money supply, talking about the correlation. I looked at him as far as the #1 expert on that topic specifically, and we have some new data from him. So, but let's talk about Cardano. Unless you want to add something.
Well, I was going to say one more thing just regarding the altcoin index. This is something to keep an eye on. I mean, 74
Close.
out of 100 of the top 100 coins are outperforming Bitcoin in the last 90 days. So like this is alt season. It's not obviously full green, but this is something I like to keep an eye on, and as well as the top bottom indicators, which let's see if I can. It's smaller, so I can't quite reach it. Give me 1 second to pull those up. But go ahead and cover Cardano, and then we'll come back to the top bottom indicators, because that's the main thing I like to look at regarding if we've topped, and none of those are peaking just yet. So
yeah, Pi cycle top indicators. You type it on X, you should be able to find it here. Now, these 3 Cardano charts, saying ADA price is shooting for $1.25. So we're going to look at 3 things, and DZ's 4th thing. We got 4 reasons why you aren't bullish enough on ADA. I know it's been a while since we focus on it in the live stream, at least here. So Cardano is flashing multiple technical and on-chain signals, suggesting that $1.25 possible over the next few days or weeks. Here are several charts making the case for a breakout. Now, Cardano's price trading within a symmetrical triangle on the daily time frame, needs to close above the upper trend line to continue the upward trajectory, and then we have a nice measured target. So we're going to be pulling up all these charts. This is the symmetrical line. So we're going to go ahead and shrink that, or make that disappear. And you can see, all right, this started August 14th. This is on the daily time frame, giving ourselves a little bit of a target. And we're going to say, maybe not completely vertical, but pretty close. Boom, right there, $24.55. So yeah, $1.25 if you measure this, if you're trying to use some TA. But TJ, wouldn't you know, it's a log chart. You know how we feel about the log charts here. So doing the actual DZ's TA, it's a little bit more muted. That's right. I'm coming in with a bearish take almost. Still $1.17.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, and obviously that's not bearish. You're talking about a big pump, but it's a much more realistic conservative. And that's what you get here. We're going to give you what we actually think, not a sensationalized take.
I want to stretch that y-axis and say $40 ADA.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's spread it out and make everybody get super bullish so they click on our videos. And you do get a lot of that on YouTube. So I want to, obviously we do some type of that in the titles sometimes, but realistically, when we're making price predictions, when we're giving assessments on where things are going, we're really telling you what we think, what we're doing with our own money. We've got millions of dollars on the line. So we're taking this seriously. We're not just, doing this willy nilly. A lot of people out there, they're not even invested in some of this stuff that they're talking about. So I did pull up that top bottom indicator. And this is something that's interesting to look at. You got the Puel multiple up 23, almost 24% in the last day, from 1.32, it's trying to get 2.2. So that's showing signs that, hey, altcoins are starting to do stuff. Pi cycle top still is calling for 194. That's in line with my long-term prediction. I said 200K, give or take 20K either direction. So this can change quickly. So if this goes from 111 to 150 to 160 over the next
number
couple
12,
months.
we're 1 away. They say once we hit 75, that's a sign of a market top.
Right. And so that's the coin market cap season I was just pointing out right before here. Like, this is full blown alt season according to this indicator. So then boom, this would check. Now, obviously, some of these are stronger than others. Rainbow, like, there are somewhat weighted. Like, if you go down here, they get a little bit more. Like, I don't use a lot of these things. Golden ratio multiplier. The ones I like, Pi cycle top has been very accurate in the past. Puel multiple isn't bad. Rainbow chart isn't bad. So I look at these top 5 or 10. But if you start to see 10 of these, like, there's 30 on here. Yeah, 30. If you start to see 10 of these tick into check marks, you should be positioning yourself accordingly.
Some of them are weird though, like Bitcoin dominance should be above 65%. That's a sign of a cycle top. To me, that's not at all accurate.
Yeah,
I'm looking
at
Bitcoin dominance right here. Look at 65%. So you're saying June was saying that was the top, and I think
Yeah.
everybody smart was saying, no, we're going higher.
And I 100% agree. I don't think I think this Bitcoin dominance is going to be falling, and that's how you see alt seasons. So I think this number turns into something in the 40s, 45, 43, even, in seasons past, it's gone all as low as in the 30s. But then sometimes the way you measure this, I assume they're taking stables out, but yeah, I see a 44, 45% Bitcoin dominance. That is more an indicator to me that we're near a top and altcoins are running. So,
not to switch gears too hard, but looking at Bitcoin dominance, check this out, TJ. This is very interesting. We pointed out this trend line. This is August 24th. Yeah, August 24th. Wouldn't you know, this is basically, this Bitcoin dominance falling out of the parallel range and then starting, coming to this new trend line. Look at the last 2 days. We haven't done this in a while. Boom. We hit against it perfectly yesterday. And 2 days ago, it was perfect support there. So definitely respecting this line right now.
Yeah, I think that's going to turn into resistance, and there's a lot further down to go for Bitcoin dominance. And that's a short window. And that's when you're supposed to be taking advantage of that with altcoins. And then you need to be prepared once you get some altcoin profits to roll back into Bitcoin, or that's my strategy. But chat's going, I can see the chat arguing. Some people love ADA. Some people hate ADA, calling it a dead project.
All right, well, let's go to chart number 2 because you aren't bullish enough. I'm going to make you love it, all right? By the time you're done, you're going to be tattooing it on your chest.
Steve-O's in the chat arguing for Cardano. Who'd have thought?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's because we're only saying $1.20. We're like, yeah, it's going to do that, of course. Now, ADA also seeking a breakout from the cup and handle pattern on the 4-hour chart. So let's go back to this chart here. I think I might have here on the 4-hour. We're going to pull up this arc. Yeah, boom, right here. So giving ourselves a little bit of a target. Again, we're on regular. We're not going to do the moon math. We're just going to go straight to, what might be a fairly neutral prediction here. And this is the way you would measure it. Let's just say it breaks out from the neckline. Get rid of this. $1.14, $1.15. But we're not done. There's more, everybody. Also, open interest hitting a new all-time high. It hit $1.95 billion on Sunday, signaling strong speculative interest in the derivatives market. There's a reason why this is important. Such high demand suggests that more traders are betting on it going up. So there's leverage traders. There's shorts. There's longs. The longs are winning. If you look what happened last time, a surge in this open interest often precedes significant price moves. That is exactly what we saw between June and mid-August. And then Cardano's price, ADA, would nearly double following a 150% rise in open interest. A spot ETF also looking more likely, with approval odds rising to 90% from 59% just on the 6th. And I zoomed into just the last 7 days on Polymarket here. We dipped as low as, what is this number? 69%. Why is it? What the heck is going on? Why does it always do that? I don't know. It's literally the low there. I didn't do this. But yeah, now it's shot all the way up to 91%. So we also have that chart. But then I told you DZ also has a chart. TJ, I found something. I found an upside down head and shoulders pattern. Again, let's make sure we're on the regular chart. Yeah, this is on the 4-hour candles. You can see this start around August 17th. Boom, wicked up to the neckline, top of the head, back up to the neckline, got the shoulder, wick to the neckline. But now we're starting to lose it, TJ. So we need to climb back above this neckline. You would measure basically from the neckline to the top of the head. That would give us a 17-cent pump, basically all the way there to about $1.12. So we've got a lot of bullish signals for Cardano. And of course, if you stake your ADA, stake at the DZ pool, everybody. We're knocking out the blocks, and you're going to get a free book. Also, if you like XRP,
well, how can
you
they
should
find
like ADA?
How can they find that? If they
so within your wallet, I actually put a random wallet video up on my X yesterday. Within the wallet, you'll usually see staking. Just type in DZ, DEEZY. It's the only one. It's kind of like a URL. So just go to the DZ stake pool. You're going to be getting a free claimable book minus the gas fee. Was it like 17 cents or something like that?
I love this from One House Productions. Be prepared, not scared. And that's what you get here on this channel. We help prepare you guys. Our mission is to empower you to financial freedom through crypto. That's why we come here every single day and tell you everything we're thinking and share our moves with it, because we want you guys to be prepared as well. So smash the like buttons if you want to be rich in the future, and if you want to get out of debt and experience a life of peace and freedom.
Will Crow pump again, or is it done until the next cycle? No, it's not done until the next cycle. There is going to be another, I think there's going to be an altcoin mania phase, a euphoria phase, and I think there's going to be sectors within these phases. Within one of those sectors is going to be the Trump aligned tokens. That's when you'll see probably World Liberty Fi pump, Chainlink pump, maybe you'll see Aave pump, anything that's kind of connected to the Trump family there. And Crow, I would consider in that same realm. I think you'll see Crow pump with the Trump pump. I think there's going to be an AI pump, a gaming pump, a Trump pump, DeFi pump. And so, yeah, I don't think it's over. I think that's going to be another pump.
Yeah, that's a great point. We see different meta rotations in crypto all the time where DeFi coins run. And then, like you just said, AI coins will run, exchange coins will run, Trump coins will run. So, but here's an interesting question. DCA and Prey says, I think Polkadot will do better than Cardano. That's where my bet is. What do you think about that? They're both similar-ish in market cap, have a lot of the same regulatory framework. They both seem to be getting ETFs.
I'll say all that criticism about Cardano's volume is like exacerbated on Polkadot. So I would say the numbers might not quite reflect it. The interoperability dream within the Polkadot highway might not come to fruition. Although they got great tech and Gavin went into wolf mode as the co-founder of Ethereum, might not necessarily equate into adoption there. It seems like Charles's trip to Washington, D.C. yesterday or the day before, is kind of pointing out to the fact that he's probably shaking more important hands than Gavin is.
I'd give you that. But and then we love you, Christian, too. He says, I want to say thank you to the DC fam for helping me become a better trader. Love the streams and videos. That's why we do what we do. Thanks for the encouragement and appreciate you saying that.
All right. And just last thing on Cardano, back to XRP. XRP. So Charles Hoskin, the founder, basically is signaling that there's going to be more integration between XRP and Cardano, specifically for XRP's stablecoin. Now, the plans here, basically it all comes from this post. Let's just jump to the post. Yesterday, behind the scenes on his spaces, he revealed XRP yield opportunities on Cardano with various integrations, including Flare, also talking with the stablecoin team on Ripple, aka XRP, to get this token on Cardano. And saying, there might be a place to go where the demand is instead of picking which chain. So very, very interesting data there. So if you like XRP, you might be forced into liking Cardano because maybe that's where all the stablecoin volume is going to be. We have seen when a coin doesn't have as robust a stablecoin ecosystem because maybe for whatever reason USDT and USDC doesn't want to operate, there's always room for that third entrant to be the dominant player within that specific L1. I think you can see that you'll see that with USD1 moving forward here. I think you'll see that with Trump's stablecoin. The chains that it is on, I think it's going to kind of dominate. It won't dominate ETH, it won't dominate Solana, but I think it will dominate some of these other ecosystems. All right, so foot taps is how DC works. No, maybe you're talking about the guitar pedal. That's Kelly when he's singing at that brunch at that restaurant, but he hasn't done that in ages. But are you ready to talk about Bitcoin, TJ?
Yeah, always ready to talk about Bitcoin.
Well, you pointed this out. Let me ask you, what do you notice about this chart, TJ?
My comment underneath it is I noticed the big pink dot. But realistically, what I notice is the point of the cycle that we're in. So these are different Bitcoin performances since cycle tops. Obviously, there's a few different things you can see here. You can see slightly diminished returns. You can see that we're going into the most bullish part right now, the blow off top. Like if you just draw a line straight up from where that dip was on that pink dot, you can kind of see, look where we are. Just go straight up from that. You can see, look, there we are in the blue cycle, about to go to the top. There we are in the green cycle, about to get our blow off top. So obviously they're extremely quick and violent. That would be extremely consistent with the 4-year cycle. Everything we've been telling you guys for years and years says these next 3 months is the most bullish period. And then we are likely going back into consolidation after that. You're going to hear a lot of people telling you, this is going to keep running into 2026. This time it's different. This time it's different. And it could be true. Like DZ said at the top of the show, nobody really knows for certain. So what you want to be able to do is position yourself with the most potential upside and minimize your downside. And that's why the strategy I've come up with is being in altcoins for that blow off top and then being in Bitcoin for stability if we consolidate back down. I don't think we're going dramatic. Like if Bitcoin goes to 180, I could see us pulling back to 100. I don't see us necessarily making it all the way to a 70K, which would be previous cycle low. But we're going to see what Cowan's looking at on 70% drawdown. So if we get to 200K, 70% drawdown, then we are traditional 4-year cycle theory says 200K is where we should hit, and we should pull back to around 70-ish K. Maybe it's 80, but realistically, previous cycle all-time high 69K, 70K. We could see that would be if we get repeats of the green and the blue cycle right there. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I would agree. And it's kind of, the chart, show me the chart. It'll tell you the story there. And, it's kind of just falling in line with what you're saying. And I think the diminishing return situation and the short amount of time it's all excellent advice right there. We do have a couple questions in the chat. Does pi cycle chart matter anymore? That's a very nuanced question that I don't know if I have time. Let me just say that as briefly as I can. It uses 2 moving averages. One of the moving averages is 350, maybe 355 times 2. So it looks at the moving average over basically the last year, but then it multiplies that price times 2. It doesn't multiply the days, so it's not 700 days. It's that price times 2. So as Bitcoin matures, we're not going to hit those levels anymore. It's got to double basically that moving average. So it's a lot more difficult than people are expecting for it to hit again. So I don't think it'll ever hit again. But I would have to really show you the charts and get into it. What are my thoughts on Shiba Inu? It's never going to go to a penny, so don't ever assume it's going to go to a penny. That's kind of one of the low IQ takes you'll hear from a lot of people covering that altcoin. But I will say the team seems dedicated. They keep building. They got that Shibarium. I don't think anyone outside that ecosystem is going to adopt it. I don't think it's going to do anything in the long run. But they're doing more than most. I would rather be in Pepe, Fart, and maybe even Doge. And definitely SNEC. So I would say there's other memes that are large market caps that, probably won't draw down as much. That's my 2 cents. And what do you think of alts to stable? What do you think of alt to stables for the ride down and then to BTC once the sell-off stabilizes? Alts to
you have thoughts on it? He basically said, I'm saying I'm going to roll my altcoins into Bitcoin. He's saying, what if you just roll everything into stable coins and then write it down and rebuy? Yeah.
It's just hard to time, and it's hard to separate emotions. So some people go into Bitcoin so they don't have to worry about their emotions. So if you're stoic, great advice. If you're moody and flighty, it could wreck you.
Well, and it also depends on your risk profile too, right? And the size of capital you're working on. If this is your first cycle and you're really trying to grow exponentially, you might have to take that risk. For me, I've seen over the years timing Bitcoin. It can be done. I've done it well. But I'm in just a long-term, I'm going to be accumulating Bitcoin for the rest of my life mode. And so and I'm not going to sell it regardless. So sure, there is a theory that you could roll it into stables, but I've also got other cash that I could use to buy the dips. So for me, I'm just going to be sitting in Bitcoin. Now, if you're all in altcoins, this is your first, say you've got 10,000, you turn it into 100,000 and you're trying to decide what to do. Personally, I would say put it in Bitcoin and set it and forget it and use new money if you get a deep drawdown. Now, if you don't have that opportunity and you have to take that risk and you're willing to do that, that's sometimes what it takes if you're trying to turn a small amount of capital into actual wealth. So, but if you've got 7 figures, again, it's just up to you on your risk profile on how you want to handle that sort of stuff. I would personally just accumulate Bitcoin and not try to time the markets. I think Michael Saylor said it pretty well when he was talking about Apple stock. Like if you found Bitcoin is the trade of our generation, and it will be, and it will continue to be for the next several decades. If you found that trade and you're early to that trade, which you could argue we still are, financial institutions, big money, smart money, trillions of dollars are not exposed to it yet. You'll hear people saying you're not early, and you're not the earliest, but you're definitely not the majority, and you're definitely not late. So for those reasons, I'm not trying to trade Apple at $12 to, I'm not trying to sell it at $16 and buy it back at $12. I'm just trying to accumulate as much Bitcoin as I can and sit on it because I full-heartedly believe Bitcoin will be over $1 million within definitely less than 10 years, maybe even, 5 years. So I'm in that camp of like, if I can get to this amount of Bitcoin and Bitcoin gets to $1 million, my bloodline is fine. So
there you go.
That's kind of what I'm working towards.
We got a good question by Abandoned Soul here. What do you think of, he lost his Solana, DJ. What do you think of a crypto, or what do you think of crypto in a Democrat run America, I'm assuming, in 5 years? That is a good question. Presumably, it would be, at this point, we're kind of guessing a Newsom versus Vance. And if, say, Newsom wins, what does crypto look like here? I think we have a non-scary scenario. And my reason for that is I don't think they're going to kind of copy the Biden playbook. I don't think we're going to see Operation Choke Point 3.0. What I do think is going to happen is stablecoin companies are going to buy so much of the U.S. debt. It will harm America to harm crypto, and the smart people won't allow the legislators to really go after it too hard.
Yeah, I think people put way too much emphasis on left versus right. It really, who controls the world is money. And like what DZ just said, there's too much money in now. There's too much incentive for crypto to be here. There's too much lobbying pressure.
Newsom can easily win, y'all. Easily can win. Easily. Very, very easily. Kamala almost won until what happened in July. If what had happened in July did not happen, Kamala could have won. And I would say Newsom is much more skilled than Kamala when it comes to speaking eloquently and doing debates.
Yeah. But again, I will implore you all, none of that matters. And the more you guys can realize that politics is just a circus show for distraction, the same people are pulling the strings on both sides, the same donors are influencing the decisions. That's really what matters. Bitcoin really can't be stopped. It's being adopted. The game theory, just study the game theory of Bitcoin and see where we're at right now. We are moving into quote unquote the end game, or getting closer to it, where it is a truly nation state issue. Central banks are stockpiling gold. They're going to be stockpiling Bitcoin. I think the U.S. is going to nationalize MicroStrategy in some way, shape, or form. They may not call it that. They may not do it that quite aggressively. But the fact that the United States has a 10% stake in Intel just shows they're willing to move towards a more socialistic type environment to compete on that scale. So it's not going anywhere. Bitcoin will continue to rise. Supply and demand metrics matter. It's really about markets and money than it is about votes. None of that. It has some impact, you could say, but for the most part, you can tell I don't like politics. So.
Yeah. And no, she definitely could have won if what happened in July had not happened. And she did win some swing states. So like saying she had no chance is just not what the facts suggest there. All right, let's talk about this low IQ take I've been seeing everywhere. See, these people are as dumb as no coiners sometimes. A new cycle. I keep seeing this everywhere, TJ. A new cycle is beginning for altcoins. Total 3 chart is broken out of its long-term range. Expect the capital to continue flowing into the broader market. This reminds me of my disagreement I had with Ben Cowan over Bitcoin dominance. And if you look at, Total 3, this is going to be the crypto total market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And yeah, we are, breaking above this neckline on this cup. You can see the handle, you can see the cup. This is giving us like very, very bullish targets. Basically adding, on a log chart, it just totally looks insane on a log chart. We start flirting with a $2 trillion market cap. Looks great, very bullish. You're seeing it all the time. You also see people talking about Total 2, closing above 2021, same day. Years of talking about it. Here it is. Woo, here it is. But what I would say is I agree with Colin here. Total 3 is breaking out. Sure. All right, stop highlighting that top chart. But Total 3, excluding stables, isn't. TJ, you maybe remember me talking about this years ago. Stable coins are totally screwing up the total chart and the Bitcoin dominance chart. Mm-hmm. I remember disagree. It's not often you disagree with Ben Cowan and then come out correct. Ben Cowan used to talk about 70% Bitcoin dominance. This is like 12 months ago. Maybe 24 months ago, 70% dominance. I said, this can never happen. And the reason I would get in arguments with Tim Warren about this. We had a bet. I ended up winning that bet. And it's stable coins are becoming a larger and larger and larger and larger piece of the crypto pie. Because of this, they're screwing up all these metrics, and including Total 3, in my opinion. Yeah,
you've got to exclude stable coins when you look at a lot of this stuff. That's what I was saying earlier with some of those top bottom indicators. Like, I don't know if they're excluding stable coins in those or not. So if they're not, then it's much, much harder to follow, because that's just gotten worse in the last 3 to 4 months as Athena's blown up and USD1 and, the GHO, like everybody and their mom has a stable coin now, and it will get very quickly there, like there would be a more stable coin dominance than Bitcoin dominance, which is crazy to think about.
As
but
more and
we're
more of
heading
our
that
US
direction.
debt goes on chain, it's
Mhm.
inevitable, everybody.
Mhm.
Bitcoin's market cap roughly $1 trillion, our debt 40 trillion. 40. And I know Bitcoin's going to appreciate, but at the same time Bitcoin appreciates, a reason it appreciates is our debt appreciates. And so it will never catch up, in my opinion, ever. Because as the dollar loses value, there's got to be more stable coins. All right, now let's look at that chart though. This is total 3 ES excluding stable. So you just type in total 3 ES, you'll find it here. Looking on the weekly, yeah, we aren't there. We aren't there. Now, I do like that this peak did basically, almost hit this peak. We're fairly close, and it does look very bullish. So I'm not saying it's not bullish. I'm just saying, I'm not a fan of the total 3 chart. You see people getting all moony and misty eyed, and they act like they're I was gonna say a fat kid looking at a cake or something. But yeah, they get a little too happy.
What's
in my opinion.
What's the
Temperate.
one that does have is it total 3 that has the stable coins excluded?
Yes,
or is that
yes.
Bitcoin?
The total 3 does.
Okay.
Which is this.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
breaking out. Looks great.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just not an accurate indicator, folks. Now, you ready to talk about someone we haven't mentioned in a long time? Crypto Quant CEO Ki-Young Ju. He had great analysis. The guy is the CEO of Crypto Quant.
Yeah.
I don't think you're bad at charting if you're the CEO of Crypto Quant. There's a lot of smart
Better hope
people
not.
use their tools, and
Yeah.
the guy's probably pretty bright. Wouldn't you agree, TJ?
Probably, yeah.
Probably could do some good arithmetic in his
We'll
head.
say this. He's probably smarter than I am. I'll give him that.
I mean, I wouldn't go against him in a math Olympiad competition. That's for sure. This guy was right. So let's back up. This is,
by the way, we are dumping pretty hard right now, which will come. We'll do a recent upload. Hit this story, and then we'll look at the recent charts.
Yeah. We'll go straight in. All right. So Bitcoin. This is all the way March 17th here. This is what happened. Bitcoin bull cycle is over, he predicted in March. Said 6 to 12 months of bearish or sideways price action. I remember looking at this specific post here. 3.5 million views. March 17th. So, same day. Every on-chain metric signals a bear market with fresh liquidity drying up. New whales are selling at lower prices. And you can see his, just using this moving average 365 days. Someone just said, "Daddy, chill." Like the meme. What the hell is even that? Said the rest of the meme there. The man actually reposted it, TJ. 6 months later, this guy was right and I was wrong. Never thought this long-term trend would rebound. So Ki-Young Ju has now flipped bullish. He's admitted his mistake. I just want to give him a shout out. The reason you're great is you're humble and willing to go where the data does. This post represents your strength, and he's now more bullish. Nobody cares about my calls anymore. We forgive you for what you said in March, Key. It's okay. But I'm just saying I'm bullish on Bitcoin. Too much capital inflows on chain, way too much. And if you look at this post right here, it's actually it's a perfect indicator for the previous cycle and the previous bottom. And it's saying there's still ways to go. And it kind of just measures like the amount of money into the ecosystem, and it kind of gives you a nice target for Bitcoin, the ceiling and the floor.
No, that's good. That's good analysis. And like you said, when those people flip bullish, I think a lot of the bullish activity is coming not as much out of Powell's speech or the 25 basis point, but the dot plot. Have you been looking at any of that? That kind of I don't know if you guys covered this yesterday, but here's the consensus of the dots. I talked about this while we were covering it live. This was the really big news. There was a couple things that were said. One, they're still in QT in the sense that they're shrinking their balance sheet, but this was really 9 out of 19 see 2 more cuts, 2 out of 19 see 1, 6 out of 19 see no. So basically we're coming in, and then Steve Mirren, sees 5. So we're definitely seeing 2 more very, very soon. I do think they'll continue to cut into 2026, but the real story, like I've been saying, is when do they get back to growing the balance sheet? When does the Treasury get back to buying? When does the Fed get back to buying? Because that's when new money comes in the system, and that's when we all make a bunch of money. So that's what I'm waiting for. That's when the true alt season happens. That's when true risk on is here. As long as things are contracting, it's going to be there's less money coming around. And rates, I don't think are going to, the bond market has not responded well to the rate cuts, and the bond market usually is what drives mortgage rates. So I think we're like, if you got that 5% wick, you probably should take it. That's a pretty reasonable rate. People that are expecting 3%, 2%, you shouldn't be. That was an abnormality. People got extremely fortunate to get those kind of rates. 5% is a lot more, that's a normal, interest rate. So it's going to be really fascinating to see how these next 6 months comes out. I wish I had a counter on how many times Jerome Powell in his speech said unusual market, unusual situation, unusual circumstances, because we are going into somewhat uncharted territory when it comes to continued inflation of the reserve currency and how that impacts, all other markets. So.
All right, checking in on Bitcoin's price. Yeah, you can see a little bit of a dump. Now, you see that 5-minute RSI. We were cautioning you, said wait for the larger time frames. What did I say? The 30-minute or the 12-20, somewhere around there. Now, looking at some of these other time frames, you can see, yeah, RSI is falling off a cliff. Still no bull divs forming. Once you start going into, even just going past 10 minutes, you don't see it any farther. But looking at the 1 minute, deeply, deeply oversold. However, we were oversold just a few hours ago and just continue to get oversold and more oversold. Looking at the 1 hour, though, we are now creeping into oversold here, dipping below 30 on the RSI. Last time we dipped below 30 on the RSI was all the way back September 4th, and we would put in a low basically right then and there. And that's the lowest we've been since. So last time we saw the RSI dip this low, we haven't looked back price wise.
Interesting.
That bodes 109. All right, well, there you go, folks. Nice little breakdown. All right, let's talk about that 70% pullback, though. This is from Ben Cowan. I like this hairline here. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm not Litecoin.
No, well, it's that was funny with Litecoin, but it also reminds me of Andreas Antonopoulos. So he's in good company there. That's basically his logo, Andreas Antonopoulos.
You know what? This almost looks like a Chad Vitalik almost, or like the Vitalik if he was just the normal kid next door who played baseball.
Yeah.
Instead of coding video games in first grade. All right, now crypto investors sidelined from Bitcoin. You still might get another chance with Ben Cowan predicting Bitcoin could fall as much as 70% in the next bear market. I would say maybe a 70% drawdown from whatever the all-time high ends up. You noted that the previous bear market cycle saw drawdowns of 94%, 87%, and 77%. But he doesn't speak in absolutes. He never does. That's only the Sith. Does it have to happen? No. But, history would at least caution us to at least believe that it might. Now, some people, like Arthur Hayes, are projecting as high as 250K Bitcoin by the end of the year. So a 70% drop from that level, at least, would be a $75,000 bottom for Bitcoin. Now, Cowan said that the market participants should expect another strong rally, but don't underestimate how quickly it could peak. Obviously, investors are hopeful we're going to coil up and go into that final rally into the market cycle top. And this should be the base case. But if that starts to happen, just remember, the top could occur at any moment, right? No one's going to be like, well, this is the top. Everyone's going to be euphoric if we start to see a move up. Now, he's also saying, I expect weakness through October for Ethereum. And Matt Hogan, though, saying 2026 is going to be an up year. This is a crazy prediction if you really think about it. He's saying December 31st, 26 will be higher than January 1st, 26. And it will be good. There'll be a good few years. What do you think of this prediction? December 31st higher than January 1st.
I mean, I know where he's coming from on it. He's looking at the debt cycle. He's looking at the money creation cycle, and it's not a completely unreasonable take. It was what we were looking when we pulled up that chart about rate cuts at all-time highs that showed some very interesting things. I do believe we're going into stagflation, where the inflation of the dollar continues, even though the economy is weak.
I'm taking the other on that bet.
Okay, that's well, that'll be fun to watch, because if you look at the data and what has happened when they were cutting at previous all-time highs, I think it's going to be a lot like what we experienced in the 80s, where it's not, they know that the system is flawed, and almost there was both times it preceded a pretty big crash, whereas and then it happened in the mid to late 90s before the dot-com boom as well. And you looked at those numbers, and there were some crazy years of growth in those periods where I think they will continue to flood the system with money, which is where this Matt Hogan theory is coming from, I believe. As the system gets flooded with new money, assets soar, buying power of the dollar gets weakened, but basically the rich get richer and the poor stay the same, and the middle class just vanishes. And we've been going through cycles of that since the 70s, in my opinion. Or you could argue we never really got too far away from the ruling class and the non-ruling class. But I think
Sailor saying winter not coming back, no bear
yeah,
markets.
there's a lot of people saying that, in winter not coming back. I think in Sailor's opinion would be, we fall from 180 to 100. We don't fall all the way back to previous all-time highs. I do think we've got a lot of sustained buying. If the United States comes out and announces a strategic Bitcoin reserve in 2026, and I think a lot of these people are kind of making their predictions based on some political landscapes of a long-term accumulation happening by governments, long-term accumulation happening by institutions, smart money, businesses. That could very well lead to basically what we've been seeing since Trump came into office. Basically, since BlackRock moved into Bitcoin, we've been seeing a much healthier market where we move up and consolidate, move up and
Higher
consolidate.
lows, higher lows.
In a much more sustained, controlled way, and that could continue in 2026. Absolutely. And that's why I want to remain exposed to Bitcoin. That's the risk in moving into dollars. And like to the guy who asked it earlier in the stream, why not roll everything into stable coins? Because if you're sitting in the dollar, you're sitting in something that is bleeding, right? The dollar's buying power went down 10% this year. So if you rolled $3 million into cash, you lost 300K worth of buying power. So if you rolled it into Bitcoin, you've made a ton of money. So that's where I land on it. I'm going to be rolling back into Bitcoin because you're hedging against, okay, well, I've got upside if the market does continue to go up in 2026. I've limited my downside by not being exposed to altcoins if Bitcoin does experience a pullback. And I'm in my opinion, the safest place to be outside of fiat money, outside of government money. And you're it's a commodity with the highest upside. It's a tech play. Like that's why Bitcoin is a beautiful asset, because it checks so many different boxes. And if you're trying to have a risk adjusted approach to investing, there's really, in my opinion, almost no better asset than you can be in than Bitcoin, which is obviously a lot of people have come to that conclusion, and I believe will continue to come to that conclusion. The other thing that's interesting to me is, a lot of people have used real estate as a store of value previously. When you go do some research about what happens to real estate when the reserve currency is experiencing prolonged inflation or even hyperinflation, what do? They put capital controls on rents. They put capital controls on what you can charge. What happens when they do that? All of a sudden, now rent isn't keeping up with inflation.
You don't want to be a landlord anymore. So you sell your property, then everything plummets.
Right. Real estate markets drop. That's no longer the best store of value. And I do think we're going to see trillions of dollars flowing into Bitcoin over the next 5 to 10 years. Trying to time that is, I think, less intelligent than just riding the wave. That's just my take on it.
We got to take here ETFs and treasury companies cause bear market to be worse. I think a little yes, a little no there. I think some ETFs in general are going to hold longer than your average, previous cycle Chinese whale. That was an F2 pool mining participant. ETFs will probably diamond hand a little bit harder than those ancient whales. The other thing, the treasury companies, I don't think Michael Saylor will create a lot of selling pressure, but maybe some of the weaker ones will. So that one would be harder to determine. Now, let's talk about an airdrop. We all like free money here. And a lot of us are using MetaMask. Consensus CEO Joe Lubin, part of the ETH team here, says MetaMask token is coming, may arrive sooner. We have the clip right here.
Will MetaMask have a token at some point, maybe in the near future?
The MASK token is coming. It may come sooner than you would expect.
It's coming.
And it is significantly related to the decentralization of certain aspects of the MetaMask platform.
What are you typing while you're on your interview here? Focus on the interview. He's typing something, DJ. He's in there answering emails.
Platform.
Yeah, he's working hard, man. He's pulling double duty. I'm doing the same thing. But
MetaMask, though, confirmed the airdrop right there. That's a very, very big news.
It is. It's huge. And I mean, especially for the boomers of crypto like us that have been, taking more trades on MetaMask.
How many MetaMask do you have is the question.
I know. I don't even know. And how much volume have we done? So yeah, we're going to be getting a fat airdrop, whatever it is, from Base and MetaMask. But it is funny that that's kind of the new boomer. If you've never had to, put a transaction through on an old nonce on MetaMask to clear it from being stuck in a failed transaction, you can tell. But
It could be a top signal. I'll give you that.
it could be, yeah. Airdrops could be like whenever they come, whether it's this year or next year. And I did see the odds on Polymarket plummet on if that's going to be this year. They definitely, both base and MetaMask airdrops could be top signals. They know how to time things.
And we'll probably do a midnight airdrop video again. We are running out of days. There's like 19 days left, maybe 20 days left. So as we get about a week away, so maybe in about 2 weeks, we'll do another midnight video. Strategy is nationalized. What happens to their Bitcoin products, Bitcoin bonds, etc.? I mean, if it's nationalized, that's a scary world. It's like President AOC steals the Bitcoin. I mean, is that what we're envisioning here?
No, I think it'll be much more like what we just saw with Intel. It's not going to be national. They're not going to be.
Oh, you're saying, if US takes a equity position,
they're going to take control of it they've got a legal path to do it out of a matter
I was thinking like
national...
Volkswagen 1939.
No, it's much more national security. It's a lot like what they've been doing with airlines and stuff like that. But rather than like making Oracle buy it, they're just going to take an equity stake. So,
yeah, I hate all that, by the way.
Oh, it's not good. It's socialism. I mean,
Socialist,
we're communist even. That's where we're going.
Trump the communist. I didn't have that on my bingo card.
Well, some people did.
Well, it's that fascism, communism thing, the left where it all kind of intersects. It's what do they call that? The horseshoe theory.
Mm-hmm. But so that's really what I see happening with MicroStrategy. Matter if it's true that we need a strategic Bitcoin reserve, the better path, and this isn't, they're not going to take it. They're going to probably offer a fair, equitable position. They're going to buy out, shareholders, but it's not really going to be optional. They're going to come in and take, I believe, a pretty substantial position in it to be able to maintain control out of a matter of national security. Maybe they come up with a more creative way to mask it. But if you don't think the U.S. government, look at what just happened with TikTok. Look at what happens with Oracle and Meta and all the MAGs and all the ones that have all the money. It's because they're aligned with the U.S. government, and the U.S. government has their hand deep in all of those systems. I think the same happens with MicroStrategy, most likely. And there's a lot of things I've seen. And you could argue that's good for shareholders of MicroStrategy. You could argue that's probably going to make you a lot of money, but you just want to remember, if you want true self-sovereignty, if you want that requires self-custody, requires self-responsibility. So if it's not your keys, not your coins, you can make plenty of money. I'm not trying to FUD MicroStrategy at all. I love what Michael Saylor's doing. I think it's a great business, a great product. I think they will be one of the larger banks in the world. But if you don't understand that the largest banks in the world have a lot of cross ties with the governments that they have to operate within and around, then you're just not really studying history, in my opinion.
All right. Well, speaking of airdrops, we got another one. This one was interesting to find the best data on. It was, I think it was Cantonese. I'm not sure. So we're going to translate this. Polymarket airdrop, all set, just waiting for the final push. Here's the facts. Shane Copeland, he's the CEO here, first mentioned the token launch in a tweet. Polymarket's reply to the Imagine tweet was then retweeted by 4 project team members, and then likes from the founder, from the official account, and others on topics related there. So looks like, now Polymarket has the green light to launch in the US. I hope this brings us closer to the token launch as well. So very, very bullish for users of Polymarket. We'll probably do a Polymarket video next week or so. I'll go ahead and I'll start making some bets. And, TJ's got some, pretty good theories on ways to make money with Polymarket as well.
Just bet no.
Just bet no. Just bet no.
Pretty easy.
Now,
okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, I'm segueing to the next thing. So go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, most of the time on Polymarket, when a market is created, it's because there's been some recent news that has sparked that question. And then the further you get from that news, it starts high and trends down, like a lot of meme coin charts. It pumps and then just slow draws down. I do believe you're going to see that continue on Polymarket. So you just wait till the new market opens up. For example, will MetaMask launch a token in 2025? I think that popped up yesterday with that announcement. And then boom, it opens up at a really high number, probably in the high 60s. And then it's already down. All you have to do is go in, take the no, and then it's down 15. I think it's down to like 30% now. And then you don't even have to wait for it resolved. You take your profits right there, get out of the trade, and it's easy money. So if you guys
love the name Troll Toll, you got to pay the Troll Toll if you want to get the boys' soul, not other things. Chainlink is looking very bullish, everybody. Chainlink reserves plunging, and they're plunging fast. Very, very low. This is going all the way back to 2022. So you see the amount of Chainlink is disappearing on exchanges. One of the reasons we're seeing a Chainlink reserve. We got a NASDAQ company buying Link for their Chainlink treasury. Do you understand what's going on? And what about a cup and handle target for $100? Oh, wait a minute. That's a little fugazi, if you ask me here. So we're going to go to the Link chart. This is the cup and handle. You can see they're using the 2021 peak. It's very bullcrap cup and handle. You know, they're using a log and they got to stretch and they're ignoring the wicks and everything. I will say this is the price targets that I've been looking at for Chainlink. If everything hits the fan, you know what, everything starts dumping, I would see this as very, very strong support. I'm selling my kidneys to buy more Chainlink at this point. But the upside target, this is going to be right around $13, $14. So if it happens very, very soon, $13.50. If it happens, say December, that's when we're going to be in the 14s. It looks like it hits December towards the last week of November, $14 right around then. The top side, though, now you're looking at a $40 Chainlink, which is still not even where it was at previous all-time highs. Chainlink, I think it's too many people know it's strong, so too many people betting on it to go up. Therefore, it has to basically shake out a lot of people that are, just too bullish on this token. But I think this is just a clear good winner in the altcoin space. Bitcoin is going to be your safest bet in crypto. Maybe if you don't want to count stable coins there, but even then, like TJ said, you're losing value day after day after day. But to me, Chainlink is up there with an Ethereum, with the Solana, and maybe even beating them as far as downside risk protection. Yeah, I agree. If you want to bet on infrastructure, Chainlink is one of the best pieces of infrastructure in crypto right now. It's not going anywhere. It's being integrated into many legacy systems, and once they make that integration, they don't change it. So to me, Chainlink's one of my larger holdings. That's why I like it. It's necessary for this world, for the world to go on chain. A lot of it runs through Chainlink. That hasn't changed. It's only continuing to get more and more true. So I see Chainlink being here to stay. It may not be your most aggressive pumper, but it's definitely got high upside and reduced downside compared to a lot of other things in crypto. All right, now let's talk about the hottest coin in the ecosystem right now. Someone in the chat was talking about DEX's, the new Hyperliquid backed by CZ. We're talking about Aster. Now, we covered this yesterday, so we might even do a deep dive. Let me know in the comments, do you want a buyer's guide? Do you want the buying tutorial for this token? Because this token is not easy to acquire. Now, CZ-linked Hyperliquid competitor Aster hit 2 billion TVL before a sharp drop. So briefly crossed 2 billion in total value locked after launching its native token before falling back sharply. It would end the day at 545 million TVL. Now, this sparked heightened trading activity, with Aster logging 434 million in a 24-hour volume, placing it amongst the most active DeFi derivatives platforms. While it gained traction, still has a way to go but to catch up with Hyperliquid. So remember, they ended the day 545 million TVL, but were 2 billion. Hyperliquid has 670 million TVL. So very, very competitive. Now, the volume, however, if you remember, 434 million, Hyperliquid's 800 million. So Hyperliquid's still coming in number one. Now, CZ congratulated Aster on X, writing, "Keep building." The comment sparked speculation that Zhao may be behind the project, with other users pointing to changes in his profile and suggesting Aster was launched in response to Hyperliquid's growth. Well, they're saying Zhao was obviously pissed about Hyperliquid and saying he is back in charge and removing the X Binance tag on his profile to just Binance. It's just Binance now. Now, despite the speculation, he is barred from managing Binance under a lifetime ban as part of his plea deal. Now, he confirmed his restriction last year, and CEO confirmed it, and Zhao has since described himself as, "I'm just a community member and a BNB holder." Well, I wouldn't say you're just a BNB holder. You're the largest BNB holder. Yeah, was it 60? I'm not trying to be funny. It's like 69%, I think. Yeah, he has a huge amount of the supply. Yeah. Now, here's the real connection. Here's the actual breakdown. How are they linked? Now, Aster's ties to Binance are documented. Binance Labs, the former venture capital arm of the exchange, and the family office tied to ZZ and Yi. I've talked about her before. Yi is a she. It's a CEO, or I'm sorry, a or the co-founder there, rebranded as, I think this is YZ Labs, like Yeezy Labs, YZI Labs. I don't know. They rebranded to Yeezy Labs in January. And according to the announcement, Zhao's going to take an active role in coaching and mentoring the incubator startups. Now, they announced that they had invested in Aster's predecessor, Asterisk. God, that is a terrible name. It's Mike Tyson trying to say the little thing that's like the squiggly butthole dot. Now, a BNB Chain representative told Cointelegraph that Aster received support from BNB Chain and CZ's family office. Spokesperson said they received mentorship, ecosystem exposure, and access to technical and marketing resources as part of the program. It's unclear whether he directly coached or mentored the team there. I would say this is very bullish. Looking at the price action, let's just say the past 24 hours. Yeah, hopefully, if you bought when we mentioned it during the show, hopefully you didn't do it an hour or two later. By 1 p.m., it kind of peaked at 1 p.m., and then it fell all the way to 54 cents from 78 cents. You're looking at a fairly sharp decline there. Let me hit refresh. Tell you what, folks, I'm looking at it. Looks like people do want the video. DZ Labs, ha ha ha. You love the cup. Thank you, Brandon Schaefer. We got someone in the community. Hide your power level. Want to open longs. All right. I guess TJ, I guess I'll make a video. I guess people want to know how to buy this thing.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's based. Yeah, I do think you continue to see it get a bid from just, obviously it's going to get listed on Binance. So they say the Binance cabal is going to push it, whether it's CZ's directly mentoring the team or not. It doesn't really matter. Whether the product's good or not isn't as important as if you think it's going to pump. And yeah.
I would say we'll probably do look at Hyperliquid's market cap and ask the question, can CZ's competitor reach where it's at today? I'm leaning yes. Just if I had to guess now, make a choice now, I'm saying yes. Chat, yes or no, can CZ's DEX hit Hyperliquid's market cap? It's going to be roughly a 15x. That's insane, TJ.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still just saying, yeah. Yes, it can. Do you think it can?
It can if he wants it to, like
if he wants it to. Now that's a better question. Does he want it to?
I mean, how much energy is he going to put into? I mean, obviously, I agree with some of the consensus that, Hyperliquid is coming for Binance more or less. So if Hyperliquid continues to have the success that it's having, it will continue to eat the rest of the perpetuals market. If they can't, I do think a lot of competitors, there probably are a lot of competitors out there already, and more will come up. Hyperliquid has a huge first mover advantage. It has a really good product. Aster is not that. However, there's big money. Binance controls a lot of different things in crypto, whether you like it or not. And if they want to send it there, they can. So if it's just, I think they will continue to send it. But the problem is at any point they could change their minds, and they hold a huge amount of the supply, and it can go up very quickly and can go down very quickly. But
all right, the song Magic Man. Do you know where that's from? We got Magic Man in the chat saying, "Don't bet against CZ. He's a magic man." Is that Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood, or is that Janice? I'm not sure, man. So let me know who's saying Magic Man down below. All right, now you did bring up bonds earlier in the show, so do you want to share this? People trying to buy a home. It's going to get Heart. Yeah. Pat Benatar. That's a Pat. Yeah. I had the wrong 70s drug addicted female. Let's see. Bond market has completely rejected the Fed. Stevie was 80s. Started 70s. Bond market completely rejected the Fed's rate cut. Yields have ripped higher following an initial drop on the rate cut announcement. So you remember the Fed cut rates 0.25. I was having a conversation with a family member like, yeah, man, mortgages get cheaper now. I'm like, that's not how it works. Mortgages are going to be tied to the timeframes that are closer to a home mortgage, 20-year bonds, 30-year bonds, not so much the overnight interest that banks charge each other. So the rate cuts had the opposite effect of what the Fed wanted. Mortgage rates will now spike, everybody. So this is not what we wanted to see. It's not great for first home buyers. And, it might be good for home prices because there's going to be less demand. But in the end, homes are more expensive if you're signing a mortgage.
Yeah, like I said, I'm moving out of real estate and basically consolidating into Bitcoin with that sort of stuff because I do, and not because I think there's anything imminent with the real estate market. I've been in real estate a long time, and I've heard housing prices are literally, since I got into real estate after one of the biggest collapses ever. I started in real estate 2008, 2009. And ever since that point, people have been talking about a pricing correction, housing crash. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And then real estate has only just continued to go up again, mostly because of inflation. That being said, if we continue this inflation run, at some point they will put capital controls on to solve the housing issue, and that will absolutely wreck the housing market. And that's why, again, Bitcoin is a safer place to be. It's a hedge and gives you upside for so many different things. So like, obviously, like personal property and some of that kind of stuff I'll still own. I'm not going to be completely out of real estate, but as far as long hold real estate, like rental properties and commercial properties, I think are already getting crushed, but I think they're going to continue to get beat down over time. But
it seems like the downtrend should continue on commercial, at least for
I saw a crazy thing. Let me see if I can find it. I put it in basement chat for Drew to talk about, but it was about a building because Drew's from Colorado. Let's see if I can find it. A building in Denver. Here it is. Give me just 1 second. I'll pull this up. 2 tower Denver energy centers sold at auction for 3% of what it was 12 years ago. It sold for this sold for $5 million, and it was purchased for $176 million. JP Morgan bought it in foreclosure for $88 million, just 2022. And then the carrying cost, I'm sure the maintenance cost, it only has where did it say? 18%. Is it on here somewhere? Yeah, only 18% occupied. And so I just think we're going to continue to see downward pressure on commercial real estate. I don't think where people are not going to work in offices ever again, but I don't want to have my wealth tied up in long-term real estate. I'm much more comfortable in Bitcoin because of the flexibility, the liquidity, the turnaround time, a lot of different things, and the upside. So, and I think, I don't know, but I think if I'm coming to that conclusion, a lot of people that are much smarter than me and have a lot more money than me will likely come to a similar conclusion. So
Cardone's, I would point to them for an example there. All right, let's get into the last story here. Michigan, shout out to Michigan. Detroit what? Well, Detroit buying some Bitcoin, but wait, there's a catch. And the Bitcoin maxis, they had to ruin it. Not really. All right, so this bill is saying they might put 10% of the state investment in digital assets, but did they clarify which ones? Is this going to be penguins, NFTs? Well, the crypto reserve bill isn't limited to Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin Trade Council is now in opposition. The Bitcoin maxis hate this. So the Bitcoin Trade Council of Michigan has opposed the bill because there's no market capitalization number listed in the legislation that would prevent other currencies other than Bitcoin from being bought by the state. The Bitcoin Maxi Group claims that allowing other crypto assets like ETH, Sol, maybe even Stables, maybe Link, maybe ADA, as part of the strategic crypto reserve would be creating unnecessary risk, as all other currencies other than Bitcoin are centralized and subject to great risk. So the Bitcoin Maxis being Bitcoin Maxis, I think if we pass this digital asset bill, I don't think they're buying altcoins. I think they're only going to buy Bitcoin. But I think if you fight this bill and then create a situation where it does not pass, Bitcoiners, you might end up shooting yourself in the foot. You might end up with 0 Bitcoin on Michigan's balance sheet versus some Bitcoin or maybe all Bitcoin on their digital asset balance sheet. So Bitcoin maxis, be careful. Careful what you wish for. You don't want this thing to pass. You might end up screwing yourself as far as Bitcoin adoption on this legislation getting enacted.
Yeah, I'm a believer in freedom. Give them the freedom and let them learn. If people want to buy other things, let them buy other things. And then if they want it, eventually they'll come back to Bitcoin. And I think if more maxis would take that approach, a little bit of a softer approach on Bitcoin education, I think it would have been easier for people to get there. But most of the time, people want to start on their own journey and go buy other things. Even though I tell people all the time, just buy Bitcoin, especially if you're not engaged, especially if you don't really know what's going on, you're just starting out, and especially if you've got a significant amount of money that you're putting in, you should just put it in Bitcoin. But nobody likes that advice. They want to go buy altcoins. They want to find the next Bitcoin. They don't even want to buy like Ethereum, Solana, and Chainlink. They're like, well, what's the next Solana? And it's like,
yeah.
It's
and then you
Solana.
got unit bias. There's some people who just will never buy something that has a comma in it, let alone is 6 figures.
Yeah, exactly. They won't buy Berkshire Hathaway or Apple because it's too expensive, but they're going to go buy a company that they don't know anything about, that has probably that was what was funny, and we didn't play it, but we should have, of the Gary Gensler SEC clip. Did you guys play that yesterday? Him basically talking about, a lot of these things don't have, their metrics aren't that great. And I'm like, that's like the whole stock market. Like, once you get outside of some of the majors.
Yeah, get out the Mag 7.
Yeah, and look at all those penny stocks out there. They're just trash, and like there's no underlying fundamentals, and so I'm getting off on a tirade, but
all right. Well, folks, that is our show for today. We're going to be doing basically an explainer guide on how to get Aster, how to get some exposure for that token. Also, we got a PayPal video that's going to be coming out. It is going to be in partnership with PayPal, so it might be a little bit drier, but speaking specifically on the PayPal stablecoin. So if you want to earn some, if you are wanting to stable up, I will say, if you use PayPal, it's definitely going to be a very good option. So make sure you give that video a little view, give us a little thumbs up, help us out in the metrics. And the Aster video also going to be dropping. But I tell you what, folks, we have missed, I want to say the last 2. We'll do a DZ member stream coming up.
Nice.
Give me about 5-10 minutes.
Cool.
We've been changing offices, doing a lot of commuting back and forth. So I'm going to be in the Discord. I don't want to step on, I think Drew might be jumping in there. So I don't make sure I don't step in on that.
Well, you could do it together if you had to, just for a bit.
I jump in.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be the DZ Druth collab that everybody loves. So, all right. Well, folks,
What do you think? All right. Yep. That's good. We'll wrap it up. I was going to ask you one more question, but about he said, what do you think? Pump tonight or tomorrow? Do you think we see a pump this weekend? Flat? Nothing? Not going to hold
when
you
we
to anything?
crash like from midnight to 6 a.m., typically like that 6 to 12 kind of does, I don't know what the odds are, but I've been liking following where we kind of move from 6 a.m. to noon. And it's, God dang it, it was bullish when we started the show, but now it's bearish again.
Yeah. So it pulled back. I think we do. I could see that too. I think pump after markets close today, flat Saturday, get a light move up Sunday. And then Sunday night is when we really return to the action.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. All right. We'll see you in the future. And I'll see you guys in the member stream. In the Discord, link is down below.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.